Hello and welcome, everyone. I am so honored that you're taking the time to be here at this global confluence, trailblazing back to our roots, liberating from the spell, and awakening our divine nature. We are gathering around this virtual fire with leaders and visionaries, wisdom keepers, and truth seekers to weave conversations of the mind back into the heart, breaking up the concrete that keeps us away from our sacred connection with the land. In this fire circle, we'll be exploring how others have trailblazed back to their roots, unraveled from the spell, and listened to the sovereignty of their divine selves stir. It is time we awaken to the amnesia and remember. As the acorn knows its destiny, it is time now that we as a human family awaken to the encoding written in our DNA to become like the oak tree. Let us be guided by those who have come before us and by these conversations at this virtual fire circle to step into our role as sacred stewards of our beloved Mother Earth. Let's trailblaze back to our roots, one rooted in nature. My name is Lisa Corpola, and I am your host and fire tender for this event. And I'm thrilled to be here today with Jocelyn Starfeather, a trailblazer back to their roots by bringing in the cosmic awareness that we need at this time. So, welcome, Jocelyn.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Yay, thank you. And before we dive in, I just want to share with the audience about you. Jocelyn Starfeather is a visibility and thought leadership coach for visionary entrepreneurs, spiritual alchemist, astrologer, and founder of Sacred Planet. She shares shamanic and ancient wisdom to guide courageous seekers in co creating a revolutionary new world in alignment with Mother Earth and the vast intelligence of the cosmos. After a successful 15-year corporate career working in finance for major multinational companies, Jocelyn was thrust into a deep spiritual awakening. It was that awakening that turned her life upside down and from which she emerges with a powerful understanding of how to use intuition and healing abilities, aspects of herself that she had never had access to before. She dove deeply into the earth based and shamanic practices and has studied alongside elders and wisdom keepers ever since. She has extensively studied ancient civilizations, especially cultures where the goddess held the strong presence, and she spent a profound and life changing time in the ancient temples and pyramids of Egypt. Jocelyn blends astrology, alchemy, hermetism, ancient indigenous wisdom, and the magical shamanic perspective to coach and guide visionary entrepreneurs, revolutionaries, and change makers all around the world. And you can find out about Jocelyn's work on her website, We Are a Sacred Planet, and on her YouTube channel as well. And I am so excited to dive into this conversation today about the quantum technology of your astrological birth chart and how to navigate our unprecedented Aquarian age. Because so I just love this conversation. I love this topic and just thinking about trailblazing back to our roots, reclaiming our connection with land, and just really moving back to this place where actually we spent a lot of time looking at the stars, and our connection to the land was actually in the nighttime as well, connection to the stars and the universe and the cosmos. And in this modern world where there's so many lights and so much television distraction, we are missing these really important messages that are coming from the stars. So I'd love to dive in with and talk with you about what are you seeing with the rise of astrology at this time and why it is so important for us to be having these greater perspective conversations?
Yes, that is a fabulous place to start, Lisa. And I just want to say thank you so much for creating this amazing event, Trailblazing Back to Our Roots. That's so fantastic. And I'm just delighted to be a part of it. So thank you for all you've done to bring this together. It's amazing. So, yes, we are meant to be connected to the stars above and to the planets and the sun and the moon. And as the ancient and indigenous people have always said, as above, so below, right? And we are here at this magical place in the center. And I really like to conceptualize it this way. There's this great dome of the cosmos, which some of the ancient cultures saw as the great cosmic serpent, this beautiful serpent of life wrapping around us, filled with light, filled with everything that we need, that rains down to us to provide us sustenance. And then there's this beautiful earth realm below, this beautiful Mother Earth, and she goes really deeply down. We can the trees send their roots way deep down into Mother Earth, and we can connect with her deeply and go to the center and feel her heartbeat. And here we are in this miraculous zone of life in the center between the two of those. And it's really fascinating because, at least as far as we know so far, officially, we are the only life that we're aware of. There may be other zones of life, but here on Earth, there's this miraculous zone of life that's really quite a thin layer. If you think about how deep down the Earth is and how vast it is out into the cosmos, we're here in this miraculous layer at the center that everything is alive, everything is blossoming. We have the trees, we have the birds, and we are here. And this is a miracle. And so first, to draw appreciation for that, right? To really bring us into our hearts. Appreciation to be alive and to be able to experience these realms, the earth, the cosmos, and to be right here, experiencing this incredible dynamic of as above, so below. And so the ancient people always knew that the places on the earth were connected to the stars. And the moon, of course, has a vast pull on our earth and on the oceans and the tides and the waters. And the sun gives life to everything here. And so these forces of the cosmos, the stars, the planets, the sun, the moon, these are aspects of the divinity that surrounds us, that wraps around us. And we can connect with them, which is just amazing to know that. Astrology is a whole language through which we can speak about what these cosmic beings are saying to us. And I think that astrology is having a resurgence right now. I feel, especially since the year 2020, for a few different reasons. One is that we're recognizing that um, what was in the ancient times a science, which we now, call astrology, but really it is a science. It's a language, it's an art and a science combined. Um, we're realizing that sciences like this are our original technology. It's part of our original technology that is in support of life. We see a lot of technologies around us that some may not be in support of life at all. Some of them, well, maybe it's kind of in support of life, but we're not sure. A lot of human-made technologies that can be actually quite a destructive force in our world. And so I think we really feel a call from deep in our hearts to return to our true technologies, knowing that life itself is the most incredible technology of all, and we hold that in every cell. And we can connect with these technologies, these arts and sciences that have been known for such a long time, that include meditation, yoga, incredible technologies from our ancestors that have been passed down through the generations. And astrology is one of those. Another reason that I think astrology is rising up in our awareness and our consciousness again is we're really seeing the accuracy of it. I think a lot of people listening probably had the experience back in 2020 of hearing, because all the astrology reports were coming in at the beginning. I can remember in January 2020 listening to the astrology reports, and they were saying something really major is going to happen this year. Something's going to happen that changes the entire world. We won't be the same again. It's going to shift the course of events. And that's exactly what happened. And then I think since then, a lot more people have been tuning in to hear the astrology. And then as we hear it and as we see what's going on in the world, we recognize how accurate it truly is. And it's fascinating how accurate it is. I like to think of the planets as highly intelligent beings. They're these highly intelligent cosmic beings, just as the Earth is a highly intelligent being, and so is Jupiter, and so is Mercury, and so is Venus. And so we are here in this family, this community. It's a vast family, our whole solar system, and even beyond, many stars speak to us as well. These incredible beings each want to help us in their own way on our evolutionary path. They want to help not only the humans, this is not just about the humans, they want to help the earth, they want to help all of the life here, all of the beings here. And so when we can think about it from that kind of greater, even beyond global, like more cosmic perspective of how we're all in relationship to one another and we're in relationship to these highly intelligent beings out in the cosmos, it really makes sense, you know. So I'll begin there and I'll pause for now.
Yeah, I love that. And I've heard some astrologers kind of talk about how the planets are kind of frequencies, right? These like frequencies and resonance. And we had such this global awakening from this frequency cluster of planets in 2020 that really came to activate and open up um, this new paradigm of understanding who we are on the planet as humans in this story history at this time. And um and I love just, you also have such great work with alchemy and really deeply connecting with Egypt and understanding the alchemical process and the mysteries of Egypt. And so how did alchemy and astrology come together for you to kind of create a new understanding about this language of frequency, I should say?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I love this question. There's so many good, juicy things in this question. So, yes, first to speak to the frequency, frequency and sound. This includes sound healing. This includes cymatics. Um, this includes many things that are being just pretty newly discovered in our world now, again, like resurging, but that have been known for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. um, this is a really important piece. The ancient people knew about this. The ancient Egyptians built their temples to be resonance chambers. And it's incredible what happens when you're, for example, in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid, or in one of the inner sanctums of rooms of the one of the temples in Egypt, and you tone, or a group of people tones all into the center. It's like this angelic frequency emerges, and it's like you're lifting up off the ground, is how it feels. They were built to hold that kind of harmonic. The temples were also built in alignment with particular stars and constellations to draw down that frequency energy of those specific stars. If a temple was meant to be a healing temple, for example, they would connect it with stars that were known to support healing, or planets that were known to support healing, and draw that energy down into the temple. So frequency, yes. Frequency is a really, really big part of this. So thank you for bringing that in, and this view of the planets as frequencies. Yes. And then to speak to the bigger picture, what you said here about alchemy, alchemy is one of these ancient art and sciences. And it's so important to notice that in the ancient and in the indigenous traditions, um, there weren't like hard science like we have today, where you have to have facts and spreadsheets and you have to data check everything and you have to, go through all these approval processes. It didn't work like that. It was this beautiful blending of science and spirit, and very experiential, and very much not only based, it was, of course, including logic, including accuracy. There was, I mean, incredibly precise accuracy that these ancient people had in being able to chart and map the sky and the movements of the stars and planets. But also, there was a focus on the felt sense and the energy and the frequencies that we feel in our bodies when we hold these alchemical rituals, for example, or when we walk through a temple that is aligned with this particular star. So all of that is one. It's not separate, right? Art and science are not separate in astrology or in alchemy. And so alchemy and astrology were used together always in these ancient cultures. We see this in many ancient cultures, in ancient China, ancient India, ancient Egypt, many different places, where alchemy as we understand it today has been carried forward, I think, in the most kind of complete way is from Egypt. And it probably came from before Egypt. It probably came from the civilizations, the great civilizations that now are increasingly, we're finding more and more proof of that were even existing before Egypt and before Sumeria and before those times. But this was another technology that was brought through, and alchemy is the art and science of transformation. And so we know that in our lives, we are here on a shamanic and initiatory journey. We're here where we experience beautiful, high, ecstatic moments and also dark nights of the soul. And it is all important and it is all a part of the process. Now, I think what often happens in our modern world is because we don't have shamanic tools widely available, we don't have alchemical tools widely available, we can get really stuck in those dark nights of the soul, or we can get really stuck in a hopeless place because we don't know how to work with those events. We don't know how to treat that as a sacred space and be able to really work with it. Alchemy gives us the tools to work with those initiatory times and to allow ourselves to accelerate our evolution and maybe not have to go through so many dark nights of the soul to actually get to this very new and up-leveled place, or to a new identity even. And there are 7 stages of alchemy as it has been passed down to us through the Emerald Tablet, which came through Egypt with the Egyptian Neter Thoth. 7 stages of alchemy, they each correspond to one of the 7 main chakras, and every stage corresponds to a planet. And so it's very, very beautiful. I won't go into that whole system, but because alchemy and astrology were always interlinked, when we hold an alchemical ritual, for example, we would always look to what's happening in the sky. Is this the right day? Is this the right time to do this ritual? We want to be sure to hold our alchemical rituals at the right time, when the planets and the stars are in the proper alignment, to really support what we're trying to accomplish with that ritual. Whether we're trying to release and let things go, whether we're trying to manifest and bring new things into our life, or whatever it might be. So we look to the moon, we look to the configurations of the stars. The ancient Egyptians, rather than having just the 12 zodiac signs that we frequently practice astrology with today, they actually divided every zodiac sign into 3 pieces. So they divided the whole 360-degree zodiac into 36 decans. And they were particularly looking at which is the star that's rising with the sun at this time. And that star stays with the sun the whole day. So then when the sun is at the apex of the sky, that star is with the sun as well. When the sun is setting, that star is setting as well. And so that whichever star would be basically conjunct the sun, or in close proximity to the sun, would be an extremely important one to pay attention to on that particular day. So it's really interesting to look at the lens of how the Egyptians saw astrology and astronomy. But because alchemy and astrology are so deeply interconnected, I kind of have found you can't fully explore one without going deeply into the other. So that's certainly been a big part of my path.
I love that. And so, when we think about alchemy, a lot of people are like, the mad scientist is in the castle and they're putting up potions together, and then somehow they're going to miraculously create gold, right? With this kind of idea that this is this alchemy science. And then, but it's really through this embodiment through Egypt, the alchemet, which is the chem was the dark rich soil, right? And that is through the dark rich soil that we find the nourishment to grow and become. And so I love that you're bringing this frequency language of the planets is informing a process of our own becoming. That alchemy is actually tending to the gold within us, is really the journey that is the invitation that you're offering with these
Yes,
wisdoms.
yes. And it's really to take the lead within ourselves and turn that into gold. That's the true alchemy. And it is funny, it's interesting that all of these alchemists, in the Middle Ages, like you're saying, like in a dark room with all these test tubes and things boiling, and they were trying to literally turn lead into gold. That was an interesting step in the in the evolution of our understanding of alchemy. But originally, it was this deep work within ourselves, but also certainly involving the elements, certainly involving the stars, all of it. But the transformation always happens within ourselves. And when we transform ourselves, we do transform the outer reality as well. I would love to share the alchemical prayer just so that people can hear that because it's such a wonderful encapsulation of the alchemical process. So the alchemical prayer, and I invite everybody, if this resonates for you, to say this 3 times a day because it really is a powerful way to welcome miracles into your life. And this prayer is, Dear Universe, please send me all of the things that I need and most deeply desire that I do not even yet know are possible. And say that 3 times and just sit with that. Let yourself receive all that the universe is actually trying to send your way that you didn't even know about. It's vast, it's incredible, all that we are meant to receive and to help us on our journey. And this prayer really helps us to open our hearts to that.
Ooh, I love that. And in that, it's like the invitation of the mystery and the unknown. And it's kind of like the invitation too that actually it wasn't just science, there was a spiritual practice that was happening. And this is kind of the missing component to the story that we find ourselves at this time with science and spirit needing to come together and have a conversation, right?
Mhm.
Because we are not, separate then, we are to find our wholeness. And so how to have you as your practice as an astrologer and an alchemist, how have you kind of used these forms to synergize into the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I discovered astrology first, and I really started studying my own birth chart and learning through studying my own birth chart. And I really encourage anybody listening who's interested in astrology, get a copy of your birth chart, begin studying it, begin seeing what the hidden secrets are that are there. Um, it's just so incredible. Your astrological birth chart is a snapshot of the exact configuration. It's like the sacred architecture of the cosmos at the moment you drew your first breath. And that is sacred. That is your sacred blueprint for this whole lifetime. Right? And we get a different blueprint every time we come into a new life. So you'll have a different blueprint. You'll have a whole different identity next time. But this is who you get to be this time. And in that birth chart is written every opportunity, all the gifts, all the talents, the skills, your true and deep purpose, your power. It's all written there. And also the challenges, the obstacles that you will meet along the way that will strengthen your character, that will actually help you discover those gifts and those powers that you have. So it's just incredible. And this is what I started to learn as I started studying astrology. And also, we want to watch the transits because what happens is then there was that snapshot of that moment in time when you were born. And that is yours. That is yours to keep. And that is you. And at the same time, then the planets all keep moving, the stars all keep moving. And so as they move and as they go on these cycles, which is so fascinating, Mercury and Venus go around the zodiac 1 time a year. Jupiter goes around 1 time every 12 years. Pluto goes around once every 248 years, right? So that's like 3 lifetimes pretty much. So they're all, and these are the frequencies, right? These are the vibrational frequencies that they each hold. So each of these planets then is doing their own thing, but interacting with the planets on your chart. When does Venus, as she is transiting in the sky, come into alignment with your sun? Or come into alignment with your Venus in your birth chart. And these are important days to know and to watch what happens. And so this is really incredible because as those planets are making their moves around the cosmos, they're interacting with your chart, with your blueprint, and you'll feel amazing on certain days. Like if Venus is transiting your Jupiter, those are the two greater benefics. This is a day when the blessings will just be flowing in, the most amazing things will be happening. But if Chiron is transiting your south node, and there's a whole lot, I won't go into all the detail of that, but that's a more difficult transit. That may be a year when you're really working through some things, you're doing some deep healing, clearing and releasing the past. And it's so helpful to know this. This was one of the big discoveries that I made many years ago. This was I would say at least 12 years ago when I was first studying astrology. Just to give a personal example of this, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I really struggled. It was like the emotions were too intense. I couldn't understand why I like had trouble functioning and everybody else seemed to be doing fine, and that kind of thing. And so then when I started studying astrology, I found out I have my moon in Scorpio. And that's an intense moon placement. That means I have an emotional need to go into the depths, to go into the magical places, into the dark and shadowy places and find myself there and find my truth there. And so once I realized that, right, it allowed me to open up to the mystery realms that I was afraid of before. It allowed me, and that's a lot of what happened through my spiritual awakening, to go and study with shamans and to allow myself to look at my own shadows. And that changed everything. It shifted everything. And to work with the unseen world, I can still remember the day that I realized, or maybe we could say I remembered, um, that I have guides all around me. We all do. We all have a council of guides. It's always with us. And I had just felt so alone for so much of my life. That was part of the depression and the anxiety. I was like in this kind of, well, we're born alone, we die alone. Like, what? This is terrible. But that's not the truth. We're never alone. We are so held and loved and protected. And there was one day when I realized they're here. They're always going to be here with me, and all is well. And I am so supported. And that's just completely shifted my life since that moment, since that day. So this embracing the maybe more difficult aspects of our chart can be completely life-changing. And then optimizing the beneficial parts of our chart, like if you have a Sun and Jupiter conjunction, you're meant to be abundant. You're meant to have resources, finances flowing into your life, right? And even if that's not happening for you now, we can look at the transits, we can optimize the moments to find out how to start that flow. So there's so much there in astrology. Now, then bringing in the alchemy, I started working with alchemy in 2019. That was when I really started working with it. I had heard of it. It was kind of one of those mystery realms I hadn't dived into yet. And it was through an astrologer that I learned about alchemy. And I began doing these 7 stages of alchemy, which is what I now teach and guide my clients through because it is such a profound process. And in the year I started working with alchemy, my whole life, I mean, everything, you think of career, relationship, finances, emotional health, physical, like everything shifted into a whole up-leveled place within that first year after I did my first 7 stages of alchemy. And I kind of sat back at the end of that year and thought, whoa, what just happened here? What is the magic that I have tapped into? And I began working with it more and more. And as I felt more comfortable, with that, I started bringing it a little bit into client sessions and then seeing the transformations that my clients would get. And now I have created whole programs around that. Um, and so really one of the most comprehensive programs that I do now is where it's this beautiful blend of alchemy and astrology, and we do astrology readings and we do the alchemical process, and it's very, very transformational. And the cool thing is that when we work with both alchemy and astrology, we receive all that the universe has been wanting to send us, but we didn't know we were worthy of, capable of, good enough for, right? It's like it allows us to transcend those perceived limitations that we have and open up to a much higher level. It's like the higher self, getting closer and closer to really being and embodying our higher self, that is our full potential. So it's like true magic. Magic is real, and the ancient people knew how to work with these forces to create that magic.
Oh, I love that. And just the download of what you're sharing, like when we think about our own internal life and our struggles and the processes that we're trying to move through, and we become so insular and kind of stuck inside of ourselves. And that when we have this opportunity to expand our vision and dance with the cosmos and the frequencies that are around us, and it just creates a much more gentleness and a much more opportunity to move through the struggle, to alchemize the struggle, to gain awareness of the things that we are diving into, what we're hitting up against. And it really kind of gives us a roadmap of possibility to get out of our own stuck little ways of being, right? And I just see that, as well, like, here we are in this time of this world where we're heads down on our phone looking for the solutions through this landscape of our hard technology machines, and yet within us is encoded this soft technology that Greg Braden likes to call this intelligence that we can transform, and we can become this, like I say in the introduction, like the oak tree, that intelligence within us is encoded, and there's an opportunity, right, as we open our vision to have that dance of exploration with the stars. So really love that. Yeah.
Yes. I love the analogy of the acorn and the oak tree that you've mentioned here.
Mhm.
There's a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote that says, inside of every acorn is 1,000 forests." And it's so true. It gives me chills every time I think of it. And it's true for us too, exactly as you're saying. Absolutely. We are so much more powerful than we know, than what we've been conditioned to believe. And through these ancient technologies, we can bring them back. And we hold them in our cells, we hold them within our breath. We hold them within our blood and our DNA, and we're bringing them back, which is just so exciting. It's a very exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, and I astrology really kind of landed for me when I really tapped into the elemental forces of it, to understand, like, oh, we're water signs and fire signs, and I relate with your moon in Scorpio as well. Like the my emotional world is watery and deep and exploratory. And so that really kind of gave me a real, like, palpable way to feel into the astrology, and then my dynamics with other people and what their elemental force and how, like, oh, I'm working with the earth sign or a fire sign, and I'm very airy, and so that really creates a way to create kinship in our wholeness of we're all elemental beings in different proportions. I don't know if
Yes, and honoring those different elements within ourselves and within one another. Yes, yes, because if you know someone's very watery, you know, you can really honor that, and you can see that deep intelligence coming forth in the water nature, and very different than a fire natured person, but we all have these incredible gifts we carry. So yeah, I love that elemental focus.
Yeah, so thinking about the times, like, the stars are pointing to amazing amount of change happening right now. It seemed like that 2020 conjunction was a real firecracker of
Mm.
shifting awareness. We're still going through the map of the stars, but the shifting our consciousness and our awareness of these times. And so I'm curious, like, we're in this time of Aquarius. Like, what does this mean? How are we going to navigate these changes? And, like, what is this bigger map showing us, um that we can kind of start to tap into? I'm sure it's going to be a lot unveiled as we go, but what are your
Yes.
insights in this processional new Aquarian age that we're moving to?
Yes. So when we talk about the age of Aquarius, this is an actual astronomical event. Okay. This is an actual movement of the stars and planets into a certain position, which I'll explain in a minute. And this is now we're going into really big, vast cycles, because these are 26,000 year cycles. To be exact, it's 25,920 year cycles. And so I'll start with the ancient people and what they noticed. So the ancient people noticed that the planets move, at a pretty good rate. Like I said, Venus and Mercury go around the sun once a year, just as the Earth does. Mars takes a couple years to go around. Saturn takes 30 years to go around. And then there are the stars. Now, the stars, we have our star, the sun, that's our closest star, but all the other stars are pretty far out there in, beyond our solar system, out there in the galaxy. And so they noticed that these fixed stars move 1 degree every 72 years. Now, it's incredible that they noticed this because 1 degree is a very small movement in the whole 360 degrees of the sky. And that's a whole human lifetime, essentially, 72 years. So they were tracking this over many, many, many multiple generations with great precision to understand and to track where each star's movement went and that they were changing at that rate of 1 degree every 72 years. They were also noticing that the sun on the spring equinox, which is how they would kind of focus in and track it precisely. On the spring equinox, the sun would rise in different constellations over long spans of time. The sun rises in one constellation for about 2,100 years. Now that's a 12th of the whole cycle because there's 12 zodiac signs. And so as the sun rises in each sign for 2,100 years, it moves the whole way around the zodiac as far as where the position that it's rising in on the spring equinox. And they noticed this too. And so when you add all this together, 72 years, if we take that times the 360 degrees of the sky, that's the 25,920 year cycle. Same thing with the sun, every 2,100 years, multiply that times 12, you get this 26,000 year cycle. So they created long count calendars. They created, in Egypt, you can walk into Dendera temple and you can see how they were tracking these great 26,000 year cycles. It's incredible. We know in the Mayan calendar, that's the long count Mayan calendar, that one great age ended in 2012 and we all knew about that. So the ancient people were tracking this. And again, this is something we're remembering now. And actually, it's completely confirmed by science and all the facts and all the data, that the sun right now is moving into the zodiac sign of Aquarius. On the spring equinox, it's been rising in the zodiac sign of Pisces for the last 2,100 years. And for the next 2,100 years, it will be rising in the sign of Aquarius. Right now where the sun is rising, if you were to look at that exactly on the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, it's on a line. It's like right in between Pisces and Aquarius. Fascinating, right? So we're moving into a new age. And each of these ages, I mean, this is something I want to teach a whole class on, right? It's fascinating. When the sun was rising in Taurus, there were bulls and cows being reverenced and placed at the center of the religions and the spiritual traditions and the mythologies all around the world. And then when it shifted into the age of Aries, we see the image of the ram coming forward. And you can see in Egypt, there are these huge long walkways filled with ram sphinxes. They were all made during the age of Aries when the sun was rising in the constellation of Aries. And it's just fascinating and there was a lot of war at that time. That was when war really, unfortunately, ramped up in our world during the age of Aries, because that's the energy of Aries can be confrontation and aggression. So we're moving into this age of Aquarius, and that's really significant for us to know, because then we want to look at what are the energies of Aquarius? What are the archetypes of Aquarius? Where are we going here for the next 2,100 years as the sun is setting the focus of our energetic world at this time? So Aquarius is very much about honoring the uniqueness of every individual. And I think this is so interesting. I have young kids, my girls are 11 and 14, and it's becoming really cool to be weird, they say, you do you, right? And it's like appreciate. It's like kind of an understated, but very appreciative, comment that's like, yeah, you wear your crazy clothes. It's all good. You do your makeup different than anybody else. It's all good. It's so interesting. And I think we're seeing this in the circles with our, healers and light workers as well. It's like we're realizing we can stand out with our gifts. We can stand out with our unique voice. We don't have to be afraid anymore to be different and unique. It's actually called for at this time, and really honoring one another in our gifts and our talents. Because that's what we need to make these great changes in the world. And Aquarius is also very visionary and future oriented. I know a lot of people in my Sacred Planet community are very Aquarian beings, and I am as well, because it's like we're the ones that maybe we've been the black sheep in our families. We've been the ones that could kind of see what others can't see, or see the future that others can't perceive yet, right? Or maybe our healing abilities got turned on, and nobody else around us had any familiarity with that. These are Aquarian qualities. It's like we're moving into the future before anybody else is. It's so interesting. And so, really appreciating that in ourselves too. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to be able to see the future. It's okay to be able to like bring in this visionary next level that nobody else thinks is possible, but is possible because that's what you're here to do, beautiful Aquarian beings out there. Aquarius is also very much about the community. And so there's this thing that's happening as Pluto. So at the same time as the sun's moving into Aquarius, as far as where it's rising on the spring equinox, Pluto, the planet, is also moving into Aquarius. And just in November 2024, fully moved in and will be there for the next 20 years. So this is significant because Pluto's about our power. So with Pluto moving into Aquarius, it's putting an even greater emphasis on that Aquarian energy at this time. And Pluto being there is really going to create a big shift in the power dynamics in our world. So what we're currently seeing is kind of this top-down, there's like 1% of the people at the top have all the power and all the money, and most other people are like scrambling to survive, sadly, all around the world. And so that's really going to flip. That's going to shift over the next 20 years. That's a big part of the transformation that we're in. And it's going to come back to community. It's going to come back to the true Aquarian ideals of community and grassroots. Um, ways of leadership where it's not like power over anymore. It's each person in their own power, in their own sovereignty, and we come together and what we can create is incredible. But we do have to see this fall of the old systems and structures happen because they're just not serving us anymore. And that's a lot of the chaos we're seeing in the world. Sadly, that's a lot of the war that's going on in the world, is because these like people that think they're so powerful are like jockeying for position at the same time as really the whole thing is crumbling, right? So we're going to be getting to a very new place with these Aquarian values systems really coming online as we move into the age of Aquarius. Pluto's getting us off to a jump start, in this area. And that's why we're feeling so much change, chaos, transformation in the world. This is a big part of it. There's more I can say about the specific planets other than Pluto, but I'll pause now.
Yeah, I love this because the pulse of this conference has confluence of different people have come together, and there's a story of like really coming back to our indigenous roots and coming back to the community. And really we don't want one world order, one top down kind of structure, that we need to like really unify as smaller communities. And some Aboriginal wisdom keepers, they were talking, their community would pinch off about 150 people. They would start a new community once they reached that point, because the leader, the one who was kind of holding the space for that community, needed to have a heart connection with every one of the people in their community.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Right. And so, like, when we are in leadership role with our community, we're in this co-collaboration. So we're in co-creation, that everyone's voice matters and every individual matters in the picture. And that's how we can organize and really create resiliency and connection. And that's how we connect with the land too, right? It's, we can't connect with the land across the globe unless we're really yeah, those each individual communities are kind of diving into that connection with the land themselves. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's about being in a circle formation rather than this top-down kind of pyramidal structure, right? It's about a circle where everybody's voice matters. All of the different viewpoints are heard before a decision is made. There's not one person saying, you all have to do what I say. That's just so old. Like it just doesn't even resonate. It doesn't even match what we know to be true anymore. So yes to everything you said.
yeah, and also a lot of this conversation has been about bringing the mind back into the heart, and bringing and how the heart is the compass of our truth. And I love the Egyptian mythology. They have this whole rich world of the netters, meaning those elements of nature, right? The netters meant nature. And so we have these different manifestations of these gods and goddesses as a frequency of nature to be a teacher in this way. And we had somebody come to talk about Ma'at, and she is such this amazing goddess of law and natural law, not man-made law that's coming from the mind as a top-down kind of structure, but the fine attunement of um, that heart space and really knowing what is balance. So I'm curious what you want to share about the beautiful teachings of Ma'at that you have learned on your way through Egypt.
Yeah, and I'm just going to walk over here in my room and show you what she looks like. This beautiful goddess Ma'at. I have a papyrus of her right here. It might be a little dark, but you can see that there is an ostrich feather on her head. She has her wings outstretched, and she's so beautiful. um, so the goddess Ma'at, she stands for a natural order and cosmic law. And so the way that I understand this is the force of love, right? The force of love and um, the force of what creates new life, what holds families together, right? All these different aspects to what love might be is the same force that holds the planets in their orbit around the sun, the same force that allows stars to be birthed from black holes, right? These are these profound forces of nature that surround us, and they work in a way that is in alignment with the sacred geometrical structure of creation. And so there's this, we can go infinitely macro with this and we can go infinitely micro with this, right? Which is really interesting. So the forces that are allowing a star to be born from a black hole, right? And the kind of cosmic fabric of that black hole is the same cosmic fabric of the womb of every woman and every female, right? This cosmic fabric that brings through new life, a new being, a new soul. And so Ma'at watches over all of this. And Ma'at is ensuring that all stays in alignment with natural order and cosmic law. And yes, it is very much about the heart as well. We can also bring into this that concept of as above, so below. The heart is our center chakra. There are 3 chakras above in the original main chakra system and 3 chakras below. So the 3 chakras below are connecting us most deeply with the earth. The 3 chakras above are connecting us most deeply with the cosmos. And our heart is here receiving the information from both the great above and the great below. I like to think of the heart as having antennas where there's like information from the cosmos coming down, and this is how we know things. This is our intuition. This is our psychic abilities, right? And there's also information coming up from the Great Mother. And this is how we're able to heal one another. This is how we're able to carry that earth-based knowledge within ourselves. I always say that if you want the real news, ask your heart. Don't watch the nightly news. Just go into the heart, because the heart is receiving everything that's currently happening, great above and great below, which is everything. So that kind of balance is also really important, that balance and harmony. In astrology, Ma'at is symbolized by Libra, the scales, right? This place of finding the balance, finding the harmony, taking everybody's opinion into consideration, and then finding the balance place in the center is one way that we humans might use that. I'll share one more thing about Ma'at that's really beautiful. So in ancient Egypt, whenever a pharaoh would step into their role, would take over as the leader, um, they would say the oath of Ma'at, and they would state this to the Neteru, Isis and Osiris, Iset and Usir. and they would hold a beautiful statue of the goddess Ma'at in their hand and would say to Isis and Osiris, "Thank you for this beautiful civilization, this beautiful kingdom that you have placed in my hands, that you trust me to take care of. And I honor and recognize that it is given to me in complete natural order and cosmic law and balance and harmony. And I vow to you that I will uphold Ma'at, that I will be true to Ma'at, that I will be in highest integrity throughout my time as a leader of this kingdom, and I will hand it back to you in perfect natural order and cosmic law at the completion of my time." And that was the vow. That was the commitment when they were stepping into leadership. And can you just imagine if that was the commitment that our presidents and our prime ministers, made today?
Yeah, and I think here is an invitation for each one of us to step into that commitment with Ma'at, because obviously the leaders have not taken this oath when we see the world that we're living in and the chaos and the destruction that is just so pervasive. And just, yeah, what a beautiful teaching to just really connect with those sacred that sacred wisdom and transmission, of the power of our own co-creative possibilities. And yeah, just such wonderful rich teachings. I could go on forever. Is there anything else you want to share about the Egyptians and astrology and anything else as we kind of come to a close? I'm sure there's tons more we could talk about.
So much more, yeah, we could go into. I will just say that, this year, 2025, is a really important and pivotal year in this whole movement that we're making into the age of Aquarius. And I believe 2025 to 2027 actually are these 3 years are really important and really pivotal for us. And what I want to emphasize with this is in the astrology, what it is saying to us is to trust ourselves, to trust our intuition, to trust our connection with our guides and our ancestors and the unseen realms, and that we have the power to choose something very new and something very different and to bring it through. And this is just really clear with the North Node moving through Pisces and the planets that Pluto is in alignment with. In a sextile to Saturn and Neptune, Pluto is also in a trine with Uranus. Those are the four main outer planets, and they're in this incredible alignment. I know some of what I said might not make sense to you if you don't know astrology, but that's okay. It's the energetics of it that you're receiving. Um, these are just incredibly powerful and beautiful transits that we are going to be receiving, especially this year and all the way through 2027. So I really invite everybody to, really trust yourself, trust your power that you hold deep within. Do the work to find that power within yourself in the way that's right for you. Trust the synchronicities and how you're guided. We're on a treasure hunt here. We're living at this amazing time where we're getting to remember all our power and all of our magic. So allow yourself to follow the little breadcrumbs on the treasure hunt that is made just for you and enjoy opening the treasure boxes along the way as you find more and more of yourself and more of your truth. And the individual journey that each of us is doing with that is contributing immensely to the whole, to the Aquarian community, to the collective. So yeah, those felt like the most important thoughts to share, as we're closing here. So I hope that will be helpful guidance for those listening.
Yes, thank you so much for that invitation, because the spell has so much been about finding the answers outside of ourselves, right? And it's actually we have all the answers within. We just need to do the journey to get there, right? And unearth those sparkly breadcrumbs of our treasure chest.
Yes.
So thank you. So how can the audience get a hold of you? And I know you have a wonderful venturing into the great cosmic ocean, a free gift for the listeners. And how else can people get a hold of you? I'll have all of that stuff on your speaker page, but Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. I know it will be linked here, but I'll just say my website, and that's the best place to reach me and find out what's the latest and greatest going on.
Mhm.
Uh, and that is wearesacredplanet.com. So it's WEARE, sacredplanet.com. And you'll find free gifts. I have, if you go to my online courses page, I have many donation-based online courses that are beautiful that I've created with my heart and soul over the years. So enjoy those. And also on my YouTube channel, it's Sacred Planet, a YouTube channel. So I'm always posting new things on there. And then, yeah, I can talk about my free gift. So the free gift is venturing into the great cosmic ocean. And it's a really powerful journey and exploration of the stars and the constellations and some mythology from ancient times around certain constellations and a beautiful shamanic journey to help you connect in with this vast tapestry, this vast sacred architecture of the cosmos above us. So that is a video workshop. So I hope you'll all really enjoy it.
Excellent. Yay. Thank you, Jocelyn. It's been so lovely connecting with you. And thank you all that you're sharing and doing in the world. I just want to give thanks to all of our listeners as well who came here for this conversation to open your mind and reconnect with our hearts and our divine nature, one rooted in nature. And just please share this with anybody who you feel will be moved by this conversation. And just sending you all so much love and blessings. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you. What a fun conversation. We went into so many different places and dimensions.
Yes, I
So
loved it.
thank you so much. And much love to everybody listening.
Thank you. Much love.